So this man here, Ian Martin, who I have not heard about until recently, thinks that burkas are offensive to deaf people. And I quote, because it's on his Twitter, "Many reasons to dislike the burqa, but disrespect of the deaf who often need to see faces to follow communication, always high on the list." And here's the thing about Ian. I'm pretty sure he's hearing. And when you look down at the replies, you see a lot of replies from deaf people and possibly some hearing people that are just kind of like, I'm sorry, what? But this tweet got a lot of attention, probably because Niall DeMarco retweeted it, and when Niall retweets something, it gets a lot of attention. And it has over 400 retweets and almost 1,400 likes. Now, before I continue with this video, I'm gonna talk a little bit about burkas. So if I do end up saying anything incorrectly or whatever, please feel free to correct me in the comments, but I'm going to do my best to make sure I get it right. I'm mostly gonna be reading off of things. So if you don't know what a burqa is, real quick, I'm gonna explain. And by explain, I mean like read off the internet. A burqa is an enveloping outer garment worn by women in some Islamic traditions to cover themselves in public, which covers the body and the face. So I understand a little bit of Ian's concern if, we're talking about a deaf person who doesn't know sign language and relies on lip reading, okay? So like me, for example, I do a lot of attempting to lip read, right? And yes, if somebody who was wearing a burqa came up to me and started talking, I would not understand what they were saying. Flat out, I'm not going to, because I can't see anything. I can't really lip read, and just a little fact here, under the best conditions, even only 30 to 40% of, let's say, the English language can be read on the lips. I don't know about any other language, but English, that's your percentage. So if somebody came up to me, somebody who was wearing a burqa came up to me, and was talking, I would be like, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Am I going to get mad at them or be offended? No. I'm just going to ask, hey, can you maybe write this down if possible or whatever. But in no way, shape, or form am I going to be offended because somebody is wearing a burqa. A lot of the comments were suggesting that, one, well, the best way of communication is sign language anyways. And, well, not all deaf people know sign language, and not all deaf people know the spoken language. Like, so, say, for example, a deaf person in the United States who grew up with ASL may or may not be fluent in English, written or spoken, because they are two different languages, different grammar, and, all of that. Speech therapy does not work for everybody. Sign language, or ASL, may be the best way of communication for Susan, and maybe English, written English, because maybe they grew up mainstreamed, writing it down would be the best way of communication for them. So, really, it's just, Ian, if it just so happens that a woman wearing a burqa is coming over and trying to ask a question, if we don't understand them, you know what we do? We do what we do with every other hearing person that's around. We work it out. And we work out our own ways of communication, but we're not going to be offended because of what they're wearing. With that said, are there racist, Islamophobic, xenophobic people in the deaf community? Yes. But you find those in every other community. In fact, I would say that your tweet is pretty much the same thing. You are showing your disdain for the burqa and for other people's way of living, and you're trying to use deaf people to try to win your argument. You have zero experiences with being deaf, with lip reading as a deaf person anyway, and you have no experience. You're a hearing guy, and this is what, no. We see it, Ian. We see the xenophobic, Islamophobic, racist stuff that's happening in this tweet here. And again, yes, you're gonna find deaf people who might be offended by this. Maybe not so much because of the covering the mouths, but probably because there's another issue there, and with deaf people defending women who wear burqas and whatnot, Ian replies to somebody that says, "I've looked at very little of it. Some of what I have seen of it is bizarre, rage-filled, lefty rubbish. Really not sure what your point is. I didn't say it to work out well or badly. I said it because I think it." And another guy writes, Let me guess the many reasons you had in mind, other than the bogus one you dared to specify. Ian replies, dared? Stop it. You're sounding like an illiberal liberal promoting extremist aggressive cosmopolitanism. Okay. Although we have one person who is deaf who writes, surprised at all the nasty responses to the sensible and correct tweet. Deaf people like me read facial expression and lips to help communication. Proven fact. What's the problem, everyone? Miss, you do have a point. There are deaf people who rely on lip reading, like I said. But like I also said, the problem is he's trying to hide the racism and the xenophobia and the Islamophobia by trying to use deaf people to win his argument. So there's that. I just wanted to apologize, because of people like this guy. Keep doing you keep doing what you're doing, and we will find a way to work out communication should the time come, because that's what we do, and that's what we've always been doing, and it doesn't become a problem, usually. But typically, marginalized people really like to stick together, and when something doesn't work, they understand, and then we find a way to make it work. Anyway, that's a little bit of ridiculousness for today. If you haven't, feel free to pledge on Patreon, because it's a great way to help support your favorite creators' content. So you get music playlists and written articles you won't see anywhere else, and pen pals if you go up higher enough, pen pal letters. And I will see you later. Bye!